Welcome to the Live Loving live stream with John Davis. Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to the Live Loving live stream. It is I, John Davis, here in the fabulous John of New Studios, having a lovely, lovely day. I hope you guys are having a great time out there. Hello, Jenny Brown, and all you guys coming in from Colorado and Texas and South Carolina. And I'm so happy to have you all here visiting. I wanted to share a story, start off sharing a story tonight, which I wanted to show you guys that I live my truth. So this morning, I started a whole bunch of new dental work. And I went in, and to do this dental work, they had to do a couple of extractions this morning. And I walked in and I sat down. I was making jokes with everybody in the room. And I sat down in the chair. And the dentist comes in and she says, John, I just want to warn you, you have really deep roots. And it's probably going to be very painful. And that I'm probably going to have to use my drills because they're going to be difficult to get out. So they're probably going to break apart and when I try to get them out because they're so deep. I said, Doc, you're completely wrong. It's going to be painless and easy, and we're going to be done really quickly. She says, John, don't do this. I said, no, Doc, trust me. It's going to be painless and easy, and it's going to be done really quickly. And she said, okay, not believing a word I was saying. She started her work. I exhaled. I sat there, and I just did not allow my body to feel any tension at all. The extractions went flawlessly and easily. She said, I can't believe how easy that was. And I'm sitting here talking to you tonight after having that done this morning, and I have no pain. I have no pain whatsoever from the work that was done today, and I feel great. She gave me a prescription for painkillers. I haven't filled it. It's just not my not my thing because I knew it was going to be painless and easy. And so I want to let you guys know that absolutely is it is something that you can do in your life is to not take what people are telling you is going to happen and take what you want to happen or what you're creating in your life. If you take what they're saying, you're actually living their life and not your own. So I just wanted to start off with that story this evening. I'm sorry, morning. Not thinking right. And thank you for the super chat. That is very, very helpful. It does actually. This channel functions solely on donations and private sessions and ad revenue, of course. So thank you for that very much. Meticule. I love that name, Meticule. Vitriol. Great name. April's here from Chicago. Melanie. Oh, Guatemala's in the house. Holy smokes. Hello, Jean from Guatemala. Oklahoma. Don't get me started. I'll start to sing. And that'll be bad. You'll all regret it. Larry's in the house. Good evening. Sir John. I love being a sir. Thank you very much. Much love and always smile. Beautiful. Hi, Ashley Carassi. Jolie, you're new. You saw me on Next Level Soul. Well, I just recorded a second interview with Alex from Next Level Soul to go out. He said 8 weeks. So look for that at the end of November, beginning of December. It was really fun. We talked about all kinds of different things, including healing and everything. So it was very, very fun. Let's see what else we got here. Please remember also, guys, put all your questions in all caps because that way it's much easier for me to spot them as we're going. I see a couple that weren't, so I'm going to see if I can answer some of them pretty quickly. I see Marcy said put it in all caps. There's one I saw. Let me see. I'm glad you. Oh, by the way, Sandy, I'm glad you liked that music. I found that on a website called Incompetech. All the music is written and performed by a guy named Kevin MacLeod. It's royalty-free music, but that one's it's like a airport lounge is what the song is called, and I just like the sound of it. Thought it was fun. Let's see. Okay. Anyway, Let me jump back down to the bottom. Okay, so if you have any questions, go ahead and throw them in all caps. That way I can spot them. And George is in the house, I see. 97 degrees in Texas. It was in the 70s here in Susan Kelly, thank you so much for asking how Holly is doing. I just got off the phone with her half an hour ago. She's doing great. She's set up in one of her family's houses right now. She actually just called me to say that one of the people who saw an interview I did with her contacted her about doing Reiki on her pets. So she was very excited to tell me that. And she's doing great. So thank you for asking. And I'll let her know that people are asking. How do you bring the myths? How do you bring yourself to believe? I exhaled a lot when I had my extraction last month, but my experience was different than yours. Well, one of the things about the experience for me was I've been doing this for a long time, and when I was 22 years old, my back broke, and they told me I'd probably never walk again, and so I've been through a lot of pretty painful things, and in this situation, it really was a matter of me coming back to the simplicity of just no, I am having an easy experience. The exhaling is just a part of it, because the exhaling is the releasing of the fear and the stress that's associated with the extraction itself. But it is literally the conscious choice of no, this is going to be easy and painless. I say it matter of factly, and I believe it. And so that's how I do it. But it's a matter of, it's not just exhaling. It literally is declaring and believing. Exhaling is just a byproduct of that, because when you believe it, you exhale anyway, because that's the releasing of the fear of it. I hope that helps you. One was in the super chat. What was the question in the super chat? Let me find it. Have you ever tried to visit the ruins of Babylon? Oh, I love that question. So let me tell you an interesting story. I've been all over the Middle East, and when I was in the USO, entertaining soldiers, I did from 2001 to 2006, and 2005 and 6, 4, 5, and 6, we were in Iraq a lot, and we landed in a town called Al Nazariya, and while we're on the base, the guy says, "Would you like to see the ziggurat?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? The ziggurat?" He goes, "Yeah, the ziggurat of Ur. It's right here." We were standing on the ruins of Ur, the home of the prophet Abraham. And so we went out, we saw the ziggurat, we went around to the foundations of what they believe was Abraham's house. We saw the tombs of Ur. Then when we left there, we took a Black Hawk helicopter, we flew north to go entertain soldiers out on forward operating bases. And we landed, and I'm sitting in the helicopter, and when we're in the helicopters, some of us are wearing the headset so we can hear what the captain and the co-pilots are talking about. And the captain says, "What is it about this place? I know there's something about this place that's famous. What is it?" He says, "Well, sir, this base is built on the ruins of Babylon." And so I refueled on Babylon. Then we flew to a base. I forget what the name of the base was, but on the base was an oasis. And we went back to see the oasis, and they told us this was the famous oasis that Abraham stayed out on the way to Ur. So the whole time I was in the USO, I kept having all these moments of going to these, just finding myself at these sites unexpectedly, knowing no idea how I was getting there. And but I will tell you something about, if you ever heard of psychometry, where Uncle Joe somebody brings you Uncle Joe's watch, and you hold the watch and you read something off the watch. You read the essence of Joe from the watch. When I went to Jerusalem with my friend Michael, we went to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and I felt nothing there. I was like, it really felt like nothing. And then Michael says, "John, I want to take you somewhere." And Michael is a very science-minded guy, and he was just kind of like taking me places, engaging how I'd react to them. Now, I will tell you, Michael had remembrances of being Philip, so it was a very interesting trip for the two of us. But Michael is also a very stoic guy. He doesn't really show his emotions too well. Well, he walked me out to Damascus to Jerusalem, and we're walking down the street, and I come around the corner, and there's a guy there with a machine gun with his, one of the Israeli army. And we walk down, and as I start walking down the street, I start getting nauseous. It's just really nauseous and sick. And then we get closer and closer, and we turn this corner, and there's a little sign that says Garden Tomb. And he takes me inside the Garden Tomb area, which was, there's about a 6 foot tall fence. And you go inside, and it's like walking into a church. You walk inside this fence, and the entire city that's around you suddenly gets quiet. And we walk to the back, and I'm starting to get nauseous. I'm starting to like almost wanting to throw up. And they walk me to the back, and they walk me up on this platform, and I look straight ahead, and I'm just flabbergasted that I'm looking at the hill that Jeshua's cross was on. I mean, I was just sick to my stomach. I was nauseous. It was terrible. And I turned to Michael, and he looked at me, and you could see his face was white. And I said, well, I said, what do you think? He says, I think they got it right. And then we turned, and it's called the Garden Tomb because right next to that area. And one of the things about this hill is the locals call it Skull Hill. Well, that's what Golgotha means. Golgotha means Skull Hill. And I turned to walk away from there, and I'm walking down this path, and I cannot look to my right. I cannot look to my right. I just can't get my head to even turn that way. And I don't know why. And finally I get to the bottom, and I finally kind of glance underneath like this, and I see the tomb. And the tomb that I have a memory carrying them to. And so I believe that the British Archaeological Society got it right when the actual site is actually in their Garden Tomb area, because that's what that site is. The British Archaeological Society looked at the old texts and followed what it said, and it brought them to this site. And then when they dug it, they found these things. They found the tomb site. So for me, when I go to a place like that, and without knowing what was going to happen, and then have that sort of visceral reaction, to me, that's very clear. I didn't have that experience anywhere else. When I climbed Mount Sinai, I did not have that experience. That was a very cool experience, but I didn't have that experience. And in reality, when I look at the sites themselves, I think they're just sites. It's a matter of who we are, not where the sites are, in my mind. But I think going back to the Garden Tomb was me having a visceral memory. I hope that answers your question. I know I can hear a bunch of bloop, bloop, bloops, so I'm going to jump over here and see if I can catch up on some of the questions. Ashley, there's a video on my channel called How to Heal Through the Higher Self. Check that out, because that woman came in with swelling the size of a grapefruit and walked out of there with no swelling at all from the infection in her jaw. So just check that out, and I think you'll find something interesting there. Lynchburg, Virginia is in the house. We keep going down. But I'll catch up to the super chats when I get there. Thank you who are popping them in. I'm not down there. Tennessee, Georgia, yay. Love Slinger, I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm glad you're enjoying living, loving, because that is the key to it all. I'm trying to catch up. How do you bring yourself? I already answered that one. I just answered that one. Why do you think some of us only find out life, work, purpose later in life? First of all, purpose is chosen, not found. And a lot of times when you grow up in a situation where you are told that you are not worthy, or you are growing up in a way of having self-doubt, it's hard to make choices because you don't feel empowered to make choices. And literally, purpose is chosen, not found. There is no fate or destiny. It's as I've said in several of the readings, the path is formed behind you as you place your foot. It's not something that's already cut ahead of you. So it's a matter of you choosing what you want to do. Find the things that make you feel good about you, and see the profound effect of what you're doing, and then that's your purpose. For me right now, my purpose is, honest to God, is to make videos, because I feel that I can put out something that can help people find hope, and help people find the love in the world and see the love in the world. And because it's my purpose, 1,100 videos were made like that. I just love making them. And so I wanted to, so that's, a lot of people don't find it because they don't think they can. And when they choose to just say, I am doing this, that's when they find purpose. But moving on. I hope that answered that one. That's a great, Richard, it's a great question. I'll start doing this now so you guys can see it. What does being awakened or having a spiritual realization mean to you? I love this question because I was thinking about this today, because one of the questions someone asked me about how to help others awaken. Awaken is an interesting word because that implies we're asleep. I don't think we're asleep at all. I think that we are inundated with too much thought. And that when we strip away all those beliefs, we come back to the understanding of our oneness with God, oneness with the source. In the Bible it says you must become as a child to enter the kingdom of heaven, and you must be born again. It's about going back before that time, before all those beliefs were given to us. As children, we come into the world without belief, and we're given beliefs. We're handed beliefs. And sometimes those beliefs are indoctrinated through religions. Sometimes they're indoctrinated through experience, harmful, angry parents, or lack of parents, or loving parents, because you could have a totally loving life. But it all comes down to coming back to ourselves, and without those beliefs, because those beliefs are given to us. They don't start as ours. They're given to us. And when you look at the idea of coming back to yourself, Joshua said, when you seek a path is laid before you, but until you turn the path back to yourself, you never find the doorway. And that's really the key to this, is awakening or realization is not something you seek, it's something you acknowledge, and you clear away all the obstructions. And the word enlightenment, to me, does not mean that there's going to be a light show at the end. It means that I've put down all the burdens and all the things that obscure the view of my oneness with God. I hope that answers that question for you, Richard. I got your question already. Let's see. Are our bodies giving us hidden messages how we have to find to heal? I don't think so always, but my healing has been slow, probably because I tense up against the systems. Well, think about what tensing up is. Tensing up is fear. And we feel this, and we don't want to feel, no pain, and we start having that tenseness in the body. That's fear. And when you look at healing in general, I'm going to pull up a quote here that I just was looking at the other day, because I was about to do a video on healing, and I pulled up a couple things. The cause of disease originates from the mind. Buddha. True healing comes from reconnecting with your inner divine essence, where infinite peace and wholeness reside. Krishna. It is your faith that heals you. Jeshua. So it comes back to that idea of being in that space of completely fearless, of letting it go. And understand this, all big spiritual experiences, including healing, are present moment expressions. And if we say, I just was speaking to someone the other day who was very adamant that she was on a healing journey. And I asked her, I said, how long do you want to journey? When do you want to get there? And she said, what do you mean? I said, because if you're focused on a journey, you've given it no end. You're focused on being on a healing journey. But you're not saying, I am joyfully receiving perfect health. And that's the difference. It's a matter of, am I focused on the pain? Am I focused on the issue? Am I focused on what they're telling me I have and the label they put on it? Or am I joyfully receiving perfect health? And if I am joyfully receiving perfect health, then I can go, I can let go and exhale and feel that perfect health. I had a woman the other day come on a session. She she was an amputee, and she was really afraid of going into her physical therapy. And we talked about how she can sing a Beatles song and feel the feeling of the Beatles song and walk in to that and get complimented for the work. And she sent me a message. It's exactly what happened. She got out of her way and got into the feeling of the good song that she loved, and she used that as her stride and strode right into that office. It's a matter of the feeling. God speaks to us in feelings, not thinkings, but we have to respond in feelings too. So we feel something we don't like, we go, okay, we don't say, oh, I'm not going to focus on how much I hate this, focus on how painful it is. No, we're going to say, no, this feels this way, but now I am creating this. And you change your mind about your experience. I'm sitting here talking to you right now. I had teeth extracted today. I'm totally fine. I have no pain. And it really does come down to, I didn't allow my body to get tense. In fact, when they were doing the work, I exhaled and I actively relaxed every muscle of my body. I actively relaxed every muscle of my body. And it just went through flawlessly. So I hope that answers your questions. George, I haven't seen Chitra here yet. I've done I love of a lifetime. I love that. I've done a video on this. It's John the Beloved. There's many different thoughts on this beloved thing. My memories of Jeshua was very much like my friend Tim in my life this time. Tim and I get together and we just laugh. We laugh at everything. Tim and I have known each other since we were 5, and we have a rule that we never have to say we're sorry to each other. I never have. I've known him since I was 5. We've never had a fight, one. This is the kind of relationship that John of old, Johannes ben Zebedee, or as Jeshua called him, Hannah, Hannah and Isa is what some people called him. I called him Jeshua, but Hannah and Jeshua, they were buddies like that. They were just really good friends who just enjoyed being with each other. And John would have done anything for Jeshua because Jeshua showed him his oneness with God in a very profound way. So John was just 100% devout. John never took a wife, never had kids. John literally devoted his life to spreading Jeshua's teachings, and that might be why. But that's the best way I can describe that. I hope that answers your question. Let's see. Susan, I love that you do that with the dental. I love it. I love it. I love it when she said to me, "This is going to." I said, "No, you're wrong." I told her flat out she was wrong, and then that made me laugh. By the way, thank you all for these super chats. I'll get to when I see them in the feed. I'll get to them. Why do you think some of us are called to channels while others aren't? I think some people are. Let's talk about channeling first. Channeling itself is just bringing information through from the higher source, the greater consciousness. The word originally comes from seafaring. You had the larger body of water and the smaller body of water, and the strip of water between the land was the channel. It was the thing that you brought from one to the other. And so channeling is bringing the information from the one God consciousness down to the physical world consciousness. So that's what channeling is. I think the people who are more that are closer to their well, that's not even a really good way to say it. The people whose veil is a little thinner. And in Sufism, they say the veil is our fear. And it comes down to the people who just a little thinner, they kind of get that information. And my son, when he was 6, said to me, "Daddy, God told me He's in everything and everyone, and we control the God part inside of us." To me, that's just channeling information. He was getting information. I sometimes get pictures in my head. I get videos in my head. I get songs that come through that are meaning something for the person I'm talking to. All of it's channeling. Mediumship is channeling. And when people really become good mediums, it's because they are focusing their channeling on mediumship. But some people, I think, are just a little thinner in their veil, and so they're easier to get more information. So that's my thought on that. Gentle work does not terrify me at all, Tritarch. How do I find the super chat? Right at the bottom of the chat board, there should be a little dollar symbol there, and that's the super chat button for anyone who doesn't know. I sit in love in the dentist and always get compliments on how good of a patient I am. See that, Jenny? Exactly. You just sit in that love and just love for yourself in that moment, too. I like this question. I believe in the way he taught, the way he healed. He believed he was a healing facilitator, not a healer. He would come there in the pure essence of perfect health and love, and then he would guide them to their faith, guide them to belief. And every person had a different way of believing. The story that I often use to describe this, in the Bible, Joshua picks up dirt, spits on it, makes mud, wipes it on the blind man's eyes. They wash it off and the man can see. You won't find Joshua picking up dirt and spreading it on anybody else. In the Bible, in the Gnostic texts, in the Coptic texts, you won't find it in the Bhagavad Gita. You won't find it in any of the other sacred books. There's only one time it's done, and it's for the one man who had never had a visual of the world because he was born blind. It was for the one man who needed something tactile to put faith in. And so Joshua used mud, and the reputation that he was a healer, right? People were calling him a healer. But when the woman touched his garment, he said, "It is your faith that healed you." And that's what he did. He led people to faith, and he didn't care which way. So I have been very fortunate to be a facilitator for other healings, but it always comes down to the person. It always comes down to the person who is there taking the belief, because all transcendental experiences, which is also healing, are present moment. So you got to bring the faith to the present moment for healing to occur. And now sometimes that's faith in the healing coming into the experience. I am receiving perfect health. But I've seen children stand up out of wheelchairs, and I watched the woman with the swelling on the side of her face. It was gone in an instant. And it really does come down to understanding that, in my personal opinion, there are no healers. There's only healing facilitators, because the person is on their own path. But you can absolutely guide someone. And then later on in Joshua's life, because so many people had been healed around him, people would just believe that if they were around him, they would heal. They believed he was the healer. But he believed he was just facilitating the healing. So in the end, to kind of make this sound kind of weird, for the blind man, it was the mud. For other people's, it was Joshua. Joshua was the thing they put faith in. But it was always about the faith, always about the belief. I hope that answers that question. Medicule, I honestly have no idea about the time frames of Babylon and Ur. I know that Abraham's foundations that I saw were in the city of Ur. So yeah, I don't know about the other historical time frames. Hello, Alyssa. Hi. Yes, like a Bruce Lee karate strike. Hi. Uh, oh, excellent, Alyssa. Uh, well, Babylon was definitely on the way to her. But I don't know whether he stopped there or not. I don't have that information. Okay, try Charge. I'm going to help you out here. Jenny, I'll answer this one. Sitting in love is one of the topics that I get people asking about on a regular basis, and it's an interesting topic because people try to make it more complicated than it is. The way I came to that terminology is this: I had practiced many different forms of meditation, and there's a ton of them. There's breathing meditations and mantras, and there's candle meditations and walking meditations and guided meditations, and there's so many, fire meditations. There's so many different forms of meditations, right? And I found that every one that I tried all led me to one very specific moment. And it was the moment where I let go and just exhaled. Came back to that completely fearless state. So what sitting in love really is, and how it really started for me, was I stopped doing any of the methods and modalities and techniques, and I just would go into my front room here, which I call my love room, and I would just sit down and I would just exhale. I would bypass the method and go right to letting go. And then I discovered that I could do that anywhere. I could do that when I walked into a grocery store. I could do that today in the dentist chair. I could do it anywhere. And it's a matter of going, when I let go of my fears and my anxiety, the world around me smiles at me. And I mean that literally. You walk in the grocery store and people double take and smile at you because you don't realize you're smiling. You look joyful because you're sitting in love. You're walking in love. And I totally believe that's what Joshua did, was just let go of the fears. When we are in fear state, we hold air in our bodies. We know that scientifically. Every parent who ever watched their kid almost smack their head on the coffee table went like this because they filled their lungs up with air out of fear, so they had a reserve to run fast. But when you exhale and completely relax, there's a great feeling at the bottom of that exhale. And the more you start to look at that great feeling and acknowledge that great feeling expands. And it is the thing that takes you into all of the big spiritual experiences. It's just sitting in love. The methods, modalities, techniques are part of the beliefs of man. The love is without fear. The Buddha said the secret to enlightenment is the eradication of fear. And so you have to let go of your fears. And the way you do that is by exhaling. Just being in the present moment state of relaxation without fear. And just do that. And what happens is when you do that consistently, it starts lasting a long time. I do it twice a day for 40 minutes. And I love it. I love it. I get up in the morning. I do the first thing that's most important in my morning. I start my coffee. And then I go into my room and I sit in love for 40 minutes. And then I come out and I do my whole day. And I have a joyful, fun day. And then before bed at night, I go into my room again. And I specifically have that room because for me, it's easier to delineate that as my space for that. Not that you need a specific room. You can do it anywhere. But in my house, that's my space. So I go out and do that. And then I go to bed. Now, you got to remember that the Dalai Lama said the best meditation is sleep. So remember that you're meditating when you do that too. So I hope that answers your question, Dry Tark. Let me see what else we got. Alyssa, I still am. I have been very, very busy of late with doing a lot of things. So the painting is in process. It is coming. It's just, I've got to fit it in between a whole bunch of different things. Can I get, you want a fun story from the Renaissance Fair? You want a fun spiritual story or just a fun story? This is a story I told a long time ago, but I'm going to tell it again. And some of you may find it inappropriate, and I apologize now. We would share a stage with a man named Peter Gross, and Peter is a beautiful, lovely guy and fun. He's a magician and an escape artist, and we would do a 45-minute show, and then he would do a 45-minute show all day long, off and on, off and on. So we would finish our show, we'd go backstage, and we'd sit backstage, and we wait for our to cool down, because usually it's very hot in our Renaissance clothes. And sit in the backstage and cool down, and then Peter would be performing while we were sitting backstage, and my comedy partner came walking backstage one day, and he's got this new idea for a joke, but it was a lowbrow joke, because the joke required the sound of someone passing gas. It required a fart sound. And so he's backstage and he's going, he's trying to find all the ways he can make that sound. And we're just sitting there, we're talking. Suddenly, the door to the stage kicks open. And Peter Gross comes in a straitjacket. And he goes, "Cut it out!" And he walks back out on stage. My comedy partner's microphone was on the whole time, and Peter was on stage going, trying to get out of his straitjacket. So that's one of my funny stories of the Renaissance fairs. I hope that gives you a good laugh. But if you really want a good laugh, try to visualize me in tights. That's really funny. Rosalind, thank you so much for the super chat. And I did answer the healing question already. And I did. To explain sitting in love. I'm catching up with you guys. You guys are ahead of me in the comments. You guys are coming really fast tonight. I would say divine energy, Ashley, is love. It's the most divine. It is also our very essence. It's who we are. Oh, thank you. Hitting 12,000. I'm very happy we hit 12,000. My other channel hit 5,100, so I'm pretty happy about that as well. Oh, April, I'm glad you're being helped by this. So great to have met you too, Barbara Jennings. Let's see. I know, Alisa, I know of Akian, and I know of her painting, and I'll cut to the chase. It does not look like Jeshua at all. That's what Jeshua looks like. I get asked about her painting all the time, and I actually did a video on my channel called Judgment or Discernment, or vice versa. It's if you search those two words, judgment and discernment, you'll find a video with both of them in the title, and that whole video is about Akiana. Georgia, it's not on the list right now. My next place is Turkey, so maybe we'll see. I want to travel all over. Hello, Barbara. Are you Cockney? Georgia, thank you for the super chat. By the way, there you go. Create a simple prayer. A simple prayer like, Jesus, show me the way. Does he hear this? Joshua isn't a Messiah, and you need no middleman between you and God. You know, Joshua said that you are the children of God, called himself the Son of Man. You know, he was showing you your divinity. You don't need to talk to him to talk to God. You can talk directly to God, and you do every day. You just aren't aware of it. You know, when you say, I am struggling, you're asking God to struggle. When you say, I am joyful, you're asking God for joyful. And when you start thinking of needing the middleman in between you, you're actually taking yourself away from the oneness with God and putting yourself into the space of being less than, or in a hierarchy that doesn't exist. There is no hierarchy in the oneness of God. It's all one. That's why it's called oneness. I hope that answers your question. Oh, Barbara, I'm glad your dreams are different. Mine are weird. Yeah, so I've already answered that question. So the Babylon question. What do I think or know about? Remember about the ending? Matthew, Mark, and Luke are, according to biblical scholars, all written from one source text. They're not written by each one of them individually. Now, I don't have them in my memory per se, so I'm not really sure what you're asking about the ending of the Gospel of Mark. So if you could be more specific, I can probably give you you'll probably jog my memory and I'll be able to tell you. I'm I like to think your feelings are prayers. Well, your feelings are directly based upon your beliefs, but your beliefs are changeable. You can change your belief. You know, I can believe I'm suffering through something, and I can also believe I'm healing from something. So, I like to think of it more. The language of God is feelings, but we have to respond in feelings, and the way we respond in feelings is not to focus on the things that are bad, but say, no, that's not what I'm working towards. I am doing this. So we're responding with the feeling of joyful and perfect health and all those things rather than focusing on the negative. I hope that answers, at least gives you a different insight, maybe. Tri-charge, 90% of the world don't think they can meditate. What Jenny and I are both saying is stop thinking it was meditation. Because meditation is such a convoluted word nowadays. There's too many different forms of it, too many different ways. And 90% of the world don't think they can meditate because of this one specific thing. They sit down, they quiet their mind, and then suddenly a thought will pop in. Did you pay your bills? Put that back here. Quiet my mind. Another thought will pop in. Is there gas in the car? Push it off. Every person who gets good at meditation goes through that exact same process. They just continue going through that same process until the quiet times between the thoughts last longer. And that's where the meditation is, in the quiet time that's lasting longer. But you have to be consistent. You have to hold on to it to do that sort of training. What I'm saying is let go of the methods. And what Jenny says is just exhale and relax and acknowledge that feeling. That's enough. If you just do that several times a day, that's all you need to do. Because exhaling and just allowing your body to completely relax, that's it. Start acknowledging that feeling and doing that several times a day, and your life will change dramatically. I hope that helps you. Kara, thank you for your super chat, Kara. This is a very interesting perspective. I was shown the keys to heaven are living in love and belief. Laughter equals connection to spirit. Yep. Love, connection to soul. Connection to body. Live, laugh, love. Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I mean, I think our very essence is love, and fear is the great paralyzer that makes us unaware that we are love. And when we release our fears, we come back to that space. And laughter absolutely is a joyful exhale. And if you're joyfully exhaling, you're releasing love, and you're sitting in love when you're laughing because you're feeling it. You're feeling that there's no fear in that. Thank you for. Alyssa, I know the TikTok thing. I thought about doing the TikTok thing. I started doing shorts on YouTube. It just doesn't feel right to me, and so I'm just not doing it. I'm sure that we're growing slowly but steadily, and I'm sure with this next interview with Alex, and also once the book is finally finished, which is the other thing I've been working on with the painting. Once the book is finally finished, that's going to get out there. And I was telling somebody the other day, if half of 1% of all Catholics worldwide were to do this, then the channel would be set for life. Let's see. Okay. Josh, I meet you where you are at. Okay. All children have a thinner veil, and they lose that veil as they're given beliefs. And when it's very interesting because you talk to a child now, they have different perspectives, especially now. They're coming in more with more thin. Hello, Siddharth. How are you? Welcome. Hello, India. India's in the house. We could all together now do something sweet. I'm jumping in. Yeah, please remember to hit the like Marcy says. Boy, I'm having a hard time catching up with you guys tonight. You guys are really kicking butt on the questions here. Hello, Denise Mancuso. Craig, how are you? Good. Fear, light on your burden. Thank you. I'm really excited about the second video with Alex. We had a great time. We spoke for a solid hour. Then we got off. And we spoke for another half an hour afterwards, just because we enjoy each other. He's just a great guy, and I really like him. I really like him a lot. Yeah, I love this, Ashley. You're right. The word conjures images of memories of trying. Most people say they try to meditate, and I just say exhale and sit in love. And it's actually not as heady as meditation. There you go, Jolie. Yeah, it's a matter of letting go of the things that are not loving, and you come back to that. And fear, if you think of the concepts of vibration like that, higher or lower, fear would definitely be a lower vibration, right? Sure. I love that, Rosalind. Is it Rosalind or Rosalind? In the Elizabethan time, that would have been Rosaline. But it was a D on the end, probably Rosalind nowadays. So, love it. Rosaline with an E was Romeo's first love before Juliet. Joshua was a man, and every man on earth has smacked their thumb. I could probably in my phone find pictures of my fingers swollen like this from smacking it with a hammer. I know I have that picture. But every man in the world has had that. Probably every woman too. Every person in the world probably has that. But men more likely because they swing hammers more often usually. Great question. Jeshua ben Joseph was hanging out with a bunch of Jewish men, and Jeshua ben Joseph believed that that there are many in his Father's house. There are many mansions. Judaism being one, and Hinduism being one, and so he understood that he was hanging out with a bunch of Jewish men who were celebrating those things. But Jeshua was not a devout Jewish person. That was not who he was. In fact, it's said multiple times in the Bible where he literally went against the Sabbath. The whole story of the Samaritan woman at the well was he was traveling on the Sabbath. He's not supposed to travel on the Sabbath. He was a holy man, and he was doing work with a woman at a well. And first of all, the Jews did not hang out with the Samaritans. That was not really a popular thing to have happen. Speaking to a woman like that in that time period as a Jewish man would have been unacceptable. And then he told her everything she ever did, which basically means that he gave her a psychic reading, which the Bible says, don't beware of psychics and all that. And so it really he wasn't really doing anything in line with that religion, but he respected the beliefs of the people around him. And he was showing him. There's one point in the Bible he says, I am the fulfillment of the laws. I'm showing you what your own religion is talking about. But it wasn't, he didn't limit himself to the one. I hope that makes sense. Oh, Craig, you brought the orange demon into the conversation. I'm moving past that one. And no, don't crucify me for that. Georgia, meditation absolutely does get easier the more you do it. Craig, man, that he doesn't look like Jeffrey Hunter. Yeah, no. When I first put out that painting, people were not happy with me because he was so dark skinned, and I was like, I'm just painting the man I saw. I painted that painting literally. It's dated the year 2000. And I was regressed in October of '99, so I painted that like within months after the regression. So that was still very fresh in my head. Yeah, people do get mad. April, will I be doing any live events? That may be something I may do in the future. I think the next one that I'm going to try to, if I do one, I may try to go back to the ARE if they'll have me. I spoke there in the early 2000s, but I would love to go back there again to Virginia Beach, Edgar Casey's house again. I spoke there a long time ago. And I used to speak at Unity churches and metaphysical centers all over North America, all up through Canada and everything. So, yeah, I don't know. Well, that's potential, potentially. Hello, Australia. Are you asking why so much abuse in the churches? That's because they are limiting love. In the Catholic Church, especially, if you go up to the point where they say you either have to get married or take the holy orders, because if you don't have a predilection for the opposite sex, you're supposed to give yourself to the church, which basically means that if you're gay, you have to be a priest. And you have to deny the way you love and the way you want to love, which means you are literally denying who you are, which puts a mental strain on the priest. I grew up in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, which was known as the nation's gay summer capital. Catholic Church owned a big mansion on the beach. Every priest in the diocese used to vacation there. And I can't tell you how many times I saw the priests coming out of gay bars with their boyfriends. I don't think it's wrong that they have boyfriends. I think it's wrong that they're hypocritical in the church about it and telling people that it's wrong and then going out and doing it anyway. But I do think that it's love in any form is never wrong. And a lot of the issues with the churches is twofold. That being one, and two is the love of money. The churches are really deep into the love of money. They look at all the gold when you go into the church. That's not what Jeshua taught, right? Moving on. We're going to start getting ready to wind down, guys. So I'm trying to catch up with the ones that are here. So let's hold off on any new questions so I can catch up because I still have a ways to go here. I loved Oregon. I spoke in Oregon in Oregon in Portland. There's an ARE group out there. What's the guy's name? Raymond somebody, and his lovely wife. I spoke at their house, and yeah, there's a lovely. I've spoken out there. I also, when I was out there, I went to visit Nick Bunick from the book The Messengers, and you know, I when I think of the experiences I've had, I cry as well. I have a hard time listening to my regression, and I don't usually, unless I'm trying to share it with somebody or something. There's a video on the channel that says 2 moments from my regression. If you look that title up, you'll find it, and you'll hear some of the 2 of the most powerful moments from the regression. And yeah, I have those exact experiences too. I've never heard of Pascal's wager tritarch, but people use "What if you're wrong?" My favorite response to the "What if you're wrong" argument, and it's someone who I don't even like who responded to it. It was a comedian named Bill Maher, and I don't like him because I think he's hateful. I think he's harmful. But he was in the Holy Land Experience in Orlando, Florida, and they were making a movie called Religulous. And the guy who was playing Jesus said, "But what if you're wrong?" And Bill Maher just laughed and said, "What if you are?" I think it's the most ridiculous question there. What if you were wrong? Because that's just assuming I'm right, right? So it's just a fear-based persuasion tactic. Well, thank you for joining us, Cecilia, from New Zealand. That is someplace I desire to go. I want to go to New Zealand. So let's create that, shall we? When I go to New Zealand, though, you got to realize that if I go to New Zealand, I'm doing the Lord of the Rings tour while I'm down there. So. Jenna, I have not seen the one about the Joseph. I've heard the Joseph of Arimathea stories before. I don't have any memory of Joseph of Arimathea being involved with the group, so I don't. But I haven't seen that show either. Susan, that is a beautiful way to say it. Just slow breathing and exhale and relax. They say, okay. And it worked. Of course it worked, because that's what it is. You bypass the method and the modality and you come down to getting out of your way and just relaxing. I want to tell you about my husband having melanoma. He came home. I know it's a miracle. I asked him to show me signs. All of a sudden, I've been finding coins all over the where. There's part of it didn't come through there, Jan. Or Jan. I don't know if it's Jan or Jan. Let me know. Well, thank you, Fried Iceberg, which is the coolest name ever. I told my brother he should start a band called Guacamole Loco, because I think that's just a cool name too. Your question is, did Jeshua ever talk speculative about civilizations or other? Not in my memories, but that doesn't mean it didn't happen. But it's not part of what I remember, but my memories aren't complete either. So, you know, I think that he would believe that God is unlimited and that there's, why wouldn't there be more life than we know? So that to me is important. Uh, Rosalind, that is one of the things I'm doing. That's the painting we were talking about earlier, painting of Jeshua and his wife laughing together. That's the painting I'm actually working on right now. Great. So, April, thank you so much. As you guys, when I left the corporate world and came into doing this work full time, I knew that I would be provided for, and I am being provided for with these sort of donations and things of that nature, and I'm ever grateful, because if it wasn't for this amazing community, this work and these videos and these live streams could never happen. These live streams are only possible because this community crowdfunded this computer that's right here beside me. So without you guys, this live stream couldn't even happen. So I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. And Larry, I love the idea of God's simplicity, because in my regression, it literally says it's so simple we have a hard time comprehending it. And it really is that simple. Hi, Sarah. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Jenna, I like that. I'm like nope too, and I'm like, but I always say I respect their beliefs, because you know we all can be wrong too. But I just know that the things that I've learned from that life and from those teachings, when I put them into practice in this life, they work. And so, to me, that works. Um, how does one reconcile between spiritual healing and psychology methods? All methods work. It's just a matter of whether you believe they work or not. It's just like the mud on the blind man's eyes. If you believe a psychologist will help you, and that it's working. The problem with most psychology, though, is they want to dive into your past all the time, as opposed to getting very present. So it's a matter of going back and going through those traumas and resolving those traumas. Those traumas happened, and it's a matter of going, okay, what did I learn from it? And that was that part of my life, and now I'm moving forward. And so it really depends on what you believe. If you believe it works, great. I have known a lot of people who've been going to psychotherapy for 20, 30, 40 years, and they love it. They love it. My next question is, when are you healed? 20, 30, 40 years is a long darn time. Elo, I do not have, my past life regression did not do that, but I personally have crossed over several times. So I think crossing over is sort of like the time between lives, because I think the times we're here are not linear. So I think that we're just here experiencing, and I think it's a little different than a linear time construct. Claire, thank you so much. Boom! Pop your eyes. Indoor cat, welcome. Joel, thank you so much. This is a good one. Okay. It would help me understand an experience I had if you could tell me if Joshua looked starved, half his normal size, with your last final memory. Actually, no. He looked actually still very healthy. Joshua was taken care of. He was clothed. He was fed. And right at the end there, when that whole imprisonment, crucifixion, all that happened really quickly, because they wanted it done. They wanted to cut this thing off as fast as they could. So he didn't have the time to lose all the way. But I will tell you, his left eye was swollen closed, covered in blood, covered in just what looked like scrapes across him. Yeah, he looked bad, but he wasn't emaciated or really thin at the time. No. I hope that answers your question. All right, guys, I am getting ready to wind down here. Zipping to the end here. Thank you for the super chats and super stickers. They are so helpful. I'm gonna jump to the end because we're getting late here, and if we keep going, you're just gonna keep asking questions. We're not gonna be able. I'm not gonna be able to get to them all. So sorry to say, I'm not gonna be able to get to them all tonight. In Georgia, you said the church is selling off property. They've lost 54% of their. The Christians have lost 54% of their congregation in the past 20 years because the religions are falling away, and that's an important thing. Thank you, Deb Hughes. Thank you, Claire O'Connor. Jumping down to the bottom here. I'm glad you guys enjoy these live chats. I love doing them. I love being here, and I love the direct interaction. A few weeks ago, I created a list of live streams because we were having a hard time getting questions. In the last 2 live streams, I haven't gotten to the list. You guys have been great bringing out all these topics and questions. Thank you so much for all you do for me and for this work, this crazy work that I do. I appreciate you all. I love you all. And I will be talking to you again in a couple Fridays from now. You guys have a great night, and I'll see you. Bye. Ooh, how do I close this thing? I think it's over here. Now I can say it again. Bye.
Thank you for joining us at the Live Loving live stream. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and visit us at johnofnew.com.